You can't be leaving your practice at 5 o'clock when you're done with your last patient and expecting it to get better. And then every weekend is kid time. They get done with work at 5 o'clock and they got a million things they got to do with the wife and the family, or the husband and the family, and there's no time left over. And all of a sudden, the kids go to bed, and at 9 o'clock at night, they start working on the practice. And that's no way to live your life. The most important thing you need to remember, and I'm talking to myself at the same time, is you need to make time for yourself. Orthopreneurs, and welcome to another episode of your 5-Minute Friday. I'm Dr. Glenn Krieger, and I want to talk to you today about you. Now, we always talk about the practice or patients or systems or AI, all that fun stuff. And number one, I hope you're coming to Orthopreneurs Summit. It's going to be amazing in Orlando, September 7th to 10th. Go to opsummit2023.com, and if you like what we're talking about on the podcast, you're going to love what goes on there. But I want to talk to you about you. Now, you've heard me talk about the cross of life, where you balance your life. And I've also talked about the fact that there are times in your life where you need to be out of balance, right? You have a new baby, you've got a new practice, you're taking on a new hobby. I mean, there's times where your life just gets out of balance for a short period of time. And it's not meant to be forever, but the term mission creep would imply that sometimes you get a little out of balance and it gets a little worse, and it gets a little worse, and it gets a little worse. And oftentimes when I say out of balance, people think that I'm talking about work, right? You can be out of balance in any number of ways. You could spend way too much time with your friends. You could spend way too much time traveling. You could spend way too much time with your family. You could spend way too much time on your hobbies, right? Anything that takes you away from balance for a long-term picture is not necessarily good for you. If I said, hey, look at Glenn. Yeah, man, that guy doesn't work so much. He's been able to relax. Yeah, now he spends all day long working on his hobby. Even if I was retired and I was fixing a car and I was doing it 9 hours a day, every day, 6 days a week, 5 days a week, and nothing else, that's out of balance. And now we're in the summertime right now, and kids are going to start going back to school shortly. And many of you are traveling. Many of you have traveled. Many of you have had a great summer. But I want you to take a little time and focus on you, on your mental, your physical, your spiritual, your social. I want you to look and see where you are. Take a little inventory, if you will, of where you are with your head. You may remember way back when I gave you a list of 10 things that you should score yourself 1 to 10 on. Where do you feel you are right now on a scale of 1 to 10 on these things? And if you want to create that list yourself, make 10 things right now that are important to you: your friends, your family, your church or synagogue, your work, your mental health, and then put a number from 1 to 10. Where would you rank yourself from 1 to 10? You, not what someone else would say, but where do you think you are? Now, granted, you may not have the clearest vision of where you are, but mark it and then see where you need to be, a little bit better. Now, no matter where you are, I hope you didn't give yourself a 10 on anything, because that's pretty cool if you did. But assuming you didn't, what do you need to do in all 10 places to go up one number? Let's just say I said work, and you said it's a 5. Why is it a 5? Well, our production's down, or I'm not spending the time I need to, or there's something else going on. Think of what it would take to go from a 5 to a 6, not from a 5 to a 10. I don't want that. What does it go to a 5 to a 6? And you'll come up with something. And after you do that for all 10, start implementing every day a little bit of that step to take you from a 4 to a 5 or a 5 to a 6. But here's the thing. You've heard me talk about this a number of times. When people say they want their practice to be better, you can't be leaving your practice at 5 o'clock when you're done with your last patient and expecting it to get better. And again, I know too many people out there, and it's not being pointed at any one person, who say, I want my practice to be better. And then every weekend is kid time. They get done with work at 5 o'clock and they got a million things they got to do with the wife and the family, or the husband and the family. And there's no time left over. And all of a sudden, the kids go to bed, and at 9 o'clock at night, they start working on the practice. And that's no way to live your life. The most important thing you need to remember, and I'm talking to myself at the same time, is you need to make time for yourself. You need to make time for yourself. There's a number of you out there who are friends of mine, and I've said this to you more than once. You're a great father or mother. You're a great spouse. You're a great doctor, but you're not making time for yourself. And how does this manifest itself as we get older? It manifests itself with burnout. It manifests ourselves with anger and hostility and resentment. It manifests itself with a ballooning waist and a ballooning A1C or blood glucose scores. It manifests itself with mental health issues, depression, and anxiety. Uh, so you need to make more time for yourself. It's wonderful to be focused on your practice. It's wonderful to be focused on your social. It's wonderful to be focused on your spirituality. And it's wonderful to be focused on your family. But if you get out of balance with any of them, you are going to pay the price. You can get away with it for a little while. But if every spare second is spent with your kids and your wife or husband, long term, you're looking at problems. You need to, and I don't want to hear this whole, well, it makes me feel good. Yeah, but so does Coke for the addict. So does meth for the addict. Not everything that makes us feel good is good for us. So again, carve out time for yourself. And by the way, for the record, I'm not equating spending time with your family and friends as doing meth, okay? It's just an example. But I think you need to carve some time out for yourself and get back to who you are. One of the most common things you'll hear a therapist say when people hit middle age and why there's midlife crises is kids leave the house, spouses start doing their own thing, and all of a sudden a person feels alone because they've never worked on themselves. So start working on yourselves. If you're not working out in the morning or evening, start doing that. Maybe you like doing crossword puzzles. Maybe you like reading books. Find time for you. All right, every single day, find a musical instrument, martial arts, fixing a car, doing a project. You know, there's some cool stuff I see from a lot of people online in terms of what they're doing for hobbies. Find something and do your time. You. It's not date night. It's not kid time. It's not work. It's you. And look at your cross of life and see if you're balanced. And if you're out of balance, try to get yourself balanced. Work on every aspect of your life while shooting towards balance, okay? Because if you can do that, you will run a better practice. You will be a better husband or wife. You will be a better parent. You will be a better friend. And you will have far, far, far better health long-term, both mental and physical, okay? Because all too often, we do too much for others, and the first thing to fail is us. So put on your oxygen mask before you put it on others. Take care of yourself, even if it means saying no and being a little bit selfish. That's okay. It's not selfish when it's self-preservation. Much love to each and every one of you. I hope you come to the Orthopreneurs Summit. If you're not signed up, there's not a lot of time left. We're going to close it out soon. Go to opsummit2023.com. Hope to see you in Orlando because I can promise you it will make your life better and give you more free time, which means more time to focus on yourself. We've got several stressors in our life. We've got a great profession, but we've got to deal with overhead. We've got to deal with productivity. We got to deal with team members that are outside of our control sometimes. And the great news is all of these issues are addressed in depth in this year's curriculum at Orthopreneurs Summit. So please go to opsummit2023.com, sign up for the meeting that's almost sold out, that everybody's going to be talking about, that you really need to be at to be your best practice with the lowest stress and highest profitability. opsummit2023.com. Please join me there so that I can take care of you even better than you take care of your patients.